Morning Movies and Nonsense.
Welcome back to Movies and Nonsense Morning Edition. We have Seth Ott drinking from the Donald Duck mug. What are you drinking over there, Seth?
Some coffee.
Coffee.
With some
Yummy, 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 yummy.
cinnamon and mint. Chocolate. Liqueur.
Yeah, it's a whole combination of cinnamon, mint, chocolate.
It's a liqueur.
Does it taste good?
It's good. I like it.
Okay.
It's a liqueur
I didn't know if
that
there was a clash of flavors.
No, it's good. It'll appear on the upcoming Shot Ones that was filmed recently. Last night.
Yeah, spoiler, some insight into what has happened is we filmed a podcast yesterday.
Mm-hmm. It was gold. It was the creme de la creme.
It might have won the podcast award.
The potties.
Like the stream. Is it the streamies or the potties?
I hope it's the potties.
I think it's the potties.
Both sound like they could be porn.
Yes, I've won a potty and a streamy.
Yeah.
Now I'm just waiting for I don't know. I can't. I'm not. I don't even want to go there.
You probably don't.
But yeah, that podcast did not work.
Throw a clip in right here.
Yeah.
So Chuck E. Cheese is going out of business. They filed for
I
bankruptcy.
did just see that.
That's sad. Although I'm the one for a couple. Oh shit!
Oh no! Oh no! But then we recorded, obviously, a proper episode of Shot Ones.
I think it turned out super well.
I think so too.
Pumped.
Again, we've only seen the raw footage, green screen footage, the audio, and everything like that. But I think it's going to turn out pretty well. Aside from everything turning out pretty good, how do you feel about it?
I think it's great.
Yeah.
I do. I think you get a little insight into JB on this one. He's of course the guest. We may have another guest coming up soon, potentially too. So there might be 2 Shot Ones to look forward to. Mm-hmm. But I think it's some good insight. I think it's got some good material and like some good jokes and some good little bits planned in there. So I think it's going to be fun. So stay tuned.
Yeah, very excited for that. I'm curious on how all of the editing is going to pan out.
Yeah.
Props to you for obviously planning it and everything, and just having me kind of just sit there. So
well, you're doing more of the legwork here. I did the upfront part of it, and you're the guy who does the rest. So
yeah. So that's what we've been up to this weekend. We watched a little bit of My Spy for the movies and everything like that.
You gonna post a review of that one?
I don't know. I might. It depends.
Yeah.
We'll see. But obviously yesterday was just so long ago that I think we should really dive into a bit of just kind of like nostalgia. We're kind of reminiscing about what happened yesterday. Like what about just going back into our childhood, things that have happened in the past. Honestly, like what even the kind of question of, is nostalgia good or is it bad? It's one of those things where there's good connotations, there's bad ones coming from it, because the bad, right off the top of my head, is whenever there's a relationship and there's a reason you break up.
Right.
Either they break up with you, you break up with them, they're with your dad or something like that. Who knows what's going to happen? But then you always only remember the good, where it's just like, oh yeah, I remember that time that thing happened.
Yeah.
But then you never remember why you broke up.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that stuff yesterday, about past relationships and thinking about deeper into it. But you can definitely bring up, like, you can realize things later on. There's some good movies like that though too. Like 500 Days of Summer kind of is one of those where
I still haven't seen it.
Really?
No. Everyone says that's like their like go-to kind of like relationship / breakup movie.
You would bawl. You would.
I don't know
be crying.
if I need that in my life right now.
But it does like have that aspect of showing the great parts of a relationship, and then also like the bad parts of it, and how people hold on to things too long or too much, or remember things differently than they should. I think that's a fantastic movie. You got to check that one out.
Okay, I will definitely check that out. Check that one out, man. My words are not working well today. No, words are working well today.
This is the morning show.
This is the morning show, Z105, and we're back. Woo. Aside from relationships, what about just anything and everything else?
Well, like, I think one thing that sparked, because during the podcast yesterday, I don't know if you can cut to a clip there, you're
gonna make my editing be so rough here.
Yeah. You already have enough to edit.
Yeah.
One like I think the thing that sparked my like nostalgia was because I mean there's movies that you can think of now when you watch them that you go back, like it takes you back to that place in time, but then there's also movies that come out now that do the same thing even though you've never seen it before, like you're seeing it brand new now. And that for me that recently was Hearts Beat Loud.
Yep.
And that hit on the level of like high school, the end of high school, the decisions you have to make, and that even kind of went into relationships too. With the two main characters with the main character, the girl in that, and then her girlfriend, having to decide like, do I leave you or do I, stay, and like the jitters of whether like going to college in any way of leaving, but like then the jitters of like, okay, do I just quit college and stay here because she has the girlfriend and then music going on and stuff. If you haven't seen Hearts Beat Loud, check it out for sure.
Yeah, no,
it's on Hulu.
That's one movie that you had myself and Cody, the other member of the SoCo Show, the co-host. Yeah, that I think that's exactly how I felt too. It was this weird. Even though I'm not a girl, I didn't play music, any of that stuff,
Right.
But it did very much resemble like high school because like you're moving on with life and you're going to college, but it's this thing of like, oh, is this really what I need to do?
Right.
Am I playing it safe? Am I going with plan B instead of plan A? And the thing is, spoilers, everyone, I went with plan B as plan A, and now I'm trying plan A, even though plan A didn't exist at that time.
Right.
I had to go through plan B to get plan A. This isn't a Planned Parenthood promotion or anything like that. It's just, you get what I'm saying.
Jared's practicing abstinence.
Yes.
Not contraceptive.
Well, in this quarantine times, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, like with that movie, I like. Well, that one was interesting because I was like, this is in the midst of the coronavirus stuff, and so it was just like bad news after bad news after bad news, stuck inside, and I was having a terrible day. Like the day at work was awful. I just felt awful. And I was tired. I'd gotten like 4 hours of sleep the night before. I came home and I was like, I'm just going to throw something on to fall asleep to. I've always wanted to watch Hearts Beat Loud. I think it's probably one that I can, fall asleep to, maybe come back later or whatever. Didn't fall asleep, which for me is a miracle because I fall asleep. I mean, I stayed here the last couple nights. I fall asleep early, like I
do.
I start getting tired at like 10:30, 11. But I
was like, Seth, the sun is still out. And you're like,
this is
I'm just so tired.
10:30 or 11 a.m. actually is when I was falling asleep. But no, I stayed awake for the whole thing, and then like there's a 20-minute scene of like a concert at the end, and I was just had a constant stream of tear go down my face, and it was because of nostalgia. It was because it reminded me of moments, and then also like part of too with the guy and the main guy Nick Offerman, the father and the daughter, like their relationship kind of coming to a head there. But yeah, that movie killed me. I
like how this movie, it kind of graced our presences, a month ago maybe
About a
now?
month ago.
And we just keep talking about it. What were you going to say?
I listened to the soundtrack on the way here when I was driving here because I love
the
it
sound,
so much.
like, again, high recommendation from both of us out there for Hearts Beat Loud. It's on Hulu right now. But it's a thing where you connect with the daughter, but also right now I'm connecting with like the father as well, where it's this thing of he kind of followed his dream a little bit. He's hit rough patches in his life, and he kind of has to finally admit like this isn't working out. He's kind of drifting through life. The whole shop has to shut down. Then he's like, oh, I can maybe follow my dream again with the music. And it's this weird thing of like, oh, okay, maybe like being an adult. Even though we're adults, like getting older, I guess, getting further in life, it's like that potential that passion, that interest, that thing inside of you is still going to be there, hopefully.
Right. Yeah, and because that's the scary thing is like because like he kind of in that movie he kind of did it. Like he recorded songs and like was doing shows with his wife and stuff like that, but it failed, and it's like one of those things that again you can. I guess it kind of same thing is like you're going for it. Hopefully by your point in his life in that movie, it's all hit and everything's fantastic. But like
or nothing else.
Right.
I probably shouldn't say it here on a podcast.
Right. But at the same time, it's like one of those things with not going, like just not going for it and reminiscing, be like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like that's a fear, you know. Like I'm sure I'm gonna, you know, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know. Like I don't know if I'm gonna stick at my job for a while. Like I don't know what, especially with this pandemic shit, you know. It's like I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I would like to do different things, but it's like that fear of like safety, that safety net is being cut open. So
well, and that's the thing, is this almost brings up a strange topic of at what point is enough or whatever, you know. It's kind of this thing of like, when do I take the leap? Unfortunately, and this even falls onto people when they're trying to like have kids, which I don't even know why I'm almost like mansplaining to people. But like, you're just never gonna be prepared financially. Right. Like they're like, oh, I need to have this amount of money for this, and it's like, unfortunately, that's just never going to happen. And it's not a thing of never having enough, but it's just that number keeps moving, and potentially like you had a, not necessarily saying your situation, but like you could be at a dead end job and it's just bad for your health, bad for just anything and everything. And you're like, next week, and then you realize you just retired. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was at that point before, like seriously, before the pandemic. I'm like, okay, you know, I need to get out, at least get out of the general vicinity that I was in with, you know, Iowa and stuff. But then it was like, oh, the world's ending, so cool, I'm gonna stay inside all the time and then at least have money. So it's like, again, it like kind of just delayed that time. Now it's like, okay, once we have a vaccine, then I can start thinking about that again. And even throughout this, I've had the same thoughts of like, I really want to get the hell out of here. But it's like, even if I did, one, am I going into an area that's like worse off than Iowa? And two, what options do I have wherever I go? And I know you're the same boat too. You know, it's like everything's virtual. There's no jobs like at all out there. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah. That's definitely this weird thing of like, I don't envy anyone trying to look for a job right now, or
like any job.
And that's the thing, is like, unfortunately, I wouldn't say unfortunately, but like, if you need money, you can find a probably job. It's not going to be an ideal job. It's not going to be anything like that. But like you're saying, just trying to follow your, I don't know, passion or what you think you want to do for the rest of your life, it's kind of like put on hold. And it's funny because when all of this kicked off, once the scare kind of happened, you know, in February, and then once it kind of hit here in America in March, I joked, but I think it's coming down to the fact of like 2020 is the lost year.
It's
like
pretty much,
it's a year where I don't think anyone should age, anyone should have to put on a resume, anything like that, because I mean, name three notable things you've done in the last 4 months.
Yeah.
Like big things.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I mean,
I had Taco Bell quite a bit.
Had Giordano's this weekend.
Yes,
that was good.
Yeah.
I mean, like the only thing that I hope good comes from this year is, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and stuff. Like that's a positive change that's happening, and I hope that's like what comes out of this year of like, you know. But otherwise, it's like, because now stuff respiking, it's like, when the hell do we, you know? One thing I was thinking about with kind of ties into nostalgia, but also with the virus and the pandemic, is like Last of Us, right? Last of Us starts in a very, like the original game starts in a very similar way to how the pandemic happened. So, some people getting sick.
Essentially, it takes the pandemic, probably the first month, and puts it into 5 minutes. Yeah.
And then it explodes from there. And I still even almost think like, am I gonna run into someone with like a plant head that's gonna chew my neck off? Like,
dude, I told you about that story about that dude biting his forearms off. That's horrifying.
But so even with The Last of Us though, so that the outbreak happens in 2013 in that game. That's when the first game came out. And then in Last of Us 2, there's references to 2013 everywhere, right? Even that 6 years ago or 7 years ago, like that gives me nostalgia for the time when I was playing that game. I can remember like playing that game, and even at that time being like, oh, this is in the future, and like this is, you know, this is
the future.
Yeah, this is like what, you know, like this is what could happen if there's an outbreak. And now we're playing the game in an outbreak.
Yeah.
That takes place, you know, when it all came out in 2013. I still get nostalgia from that, just like seeing the ads and the articles, and like you can find PS3s in that game and stuff. And like that, even just playing that game again that came out now gives me a nostalgia, and probably not a good way.
No, and you're bringing up such an interesting point of like, you're playing a game that could potentially be telling the future, but it's an escape.
Yeah.
Or is it training?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those weird things where, hey, do I need to be worrying about like taking rags and bottles and piecing them together and stuff like that?
I'm not even kidding you. When I was packing to come here, I opened up a drawer and I see sitting
you're like
perfectly in there is a pair of like scissors, like barber scissors. I thought in my head I saw the logo of the scissors,
no.
and I was like, "Where's triangle?"
Was it all the way filled too?
Yeah. Like, where's the triangle to pick that up?
Well, even not only is like, you know, us playing like a post-apocalyptic. Oh my gosh.
Post-apocalyptic.
There we go. That kind of game in this borderline post-apocalyptic world. But like looking back at the first game, it's like, you know, there's a bit of one, we didn't know that this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But also it's like the nostalgia. You remember where you were playing that first game. You remember going through those story beats and everything like that.
Yeah.
And that was what, 4 or 5? No,
7.
7 years ago.
2013.
So that was 7 years ago.
Yeah. Because I played it 2013 when it came out. I played the remastered on PS4 like the next year. And then I went to go play it again. So I had, because it was like free on PS Plus like months ago, and so I put it in my library.
Yeah.
And I went to go play it again a month ago before Last of Us 2 was coming out. And I started it and I got a quarter of the way through and I'm like, I can't do it again. Like, it's like, this is too real right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But now you're playing the second
Last
one.
of Us 2 is different.
Yeah.
I need to know. I know how the story goes in Last of Us. I need to know more. So, yeah, it's like, even something weird with nostalgia is like when I'm playing Last of Us 2, even just going into someone's yard in that game and saying like, oh, this person in the backyard, they had a slide and a swing set. Like, there was kids playing in this one. No, they weren't. It's a fake game.
But you piece it together.
Yeah, in my head, it's like, oh, this kid was, and like there's a truck that's left in the sand. It's like, oh, there's a kid in here playing with a truck in the sand before the zombies came.
Well,
and
that's the thing is like we're almost taking a dive into like just story making or storytelling in games. And we raved about this a little bit. And again, you know, no spoilers because I'm further in the game than you, but even tying into the first game, the like, okay, main story. Then there's sub story with just newspaper articles, notes, anything and everything you pick up. But then the third story is the side stories of environmental storytelling, like you're saying, where, oh, they had a kid because there's a slide, and the kid loved trucks because there's a truck in this sand.
Yeah.
But you could completely go right by it.
Yeah.
When you're trying to fight these plant people.
Yep.
But if you take the time because you're looking for rags and alcohol,
you
piece all of this together.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's all crazy. That's why it took, 4 or 5 years for them to make it and everything, and then an entire install disc to put in there. But no, it's even like that stuff makes me think like that gives me nostalgia for like that place in time. It puts me in that space of like, what was I doing then? Thinking of, and that goes back to the movies. Like, what are some movies for you that you like when you watch can instantly put it? For me, it's like Clerks 2 is one that puts me back to when I was 16.
Yeah.
There's some problematic things in that movie, for sure, but it's still, I know it like by heart. It puts me like it's a movie that I watch when I need comfort. If there's something really crazy going on in my life, like something maybe it could be even exciting that I just need to go away for an hour and a half, or bad or sad, it's one that I put on. It's a rare one that I put on though, because I need to keep that feeling going.
Yeah, you can't just like dilute it down and make it into just, oh, this is just a movie now. Right,
because I used to watch it like once a day, like for like a year. I used to watch it like once a day in the summer, especially, just over and over again. And now it's like, if I need it, I will put it on. Is there?
I think, like right when you said that, there's a handful that popped into my mind, and even with my reviews on my channel now, I'll go and be like, I remember watching that movie and I know what happened kind of around that time. So it's even weird within the last 3 years. So you got
like a record of something.
Yeah. Where I'm like, maybe I don't fully 100% remember the movie, but I remember like maybe the theater experience or whatever. 3 of them scary movies.
Yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
They bring back a different kind of memory and place and time because I always watched him at my buddy's place because he was, I think we mentioned on Patreon podcast, he's the one that kind of, I could go over there and, there was a little bit laissez-faire, it was a little bit laid back over there. So, like, I remember watching 1 and 2 at his place and, like, quoting it. And, like, that was the time where I'd go spend the night at his place. We'd watch That 70s Show. We'd watch The Simpsons. His mom would bring pizza home. Yeah. We'd eat pizza for an hour. Then we would go and maybe play Super Nintendo, N64, or something like that, and then watch a movie. And we usually rented or watched, one of those movies.
Yeah.
So Scary Movie 1 and 2 was that kind of just, it's like the Friday, you take the bus home and you get off and you hang out and pizza and, it's that child at heart. And because also in the morning his mom always made pancakes and they were like the little tiny ones and I was like, oh my, just keep them coming. But then Scary Movie 3 was the very first PG-13 movie I ever saw. And I remember it was like close to Halloween. It was October. And we went to the movie theater in our small town over, and we were sitting there, and it was me and him, and we were just dying laughing at all of this stuff, even though we didn't understand half of it. And then, like, after the movie, we're waiting for his mom to pick up, and there was, like, 2 girls, and we were like, oh, they're kind of cute, but, like, we're 13. We don't know how to talk to anyone. And then his mom picked us up. So it was one of those things, like, like, I remember beat for beat kind of, like, that experience. Because also, like, we were 13, but we thought we were, like, the old ones in the movie theater where there was, like, 11-year-olds, and we're like, they shouldn't be here.
It's like I'm better than you.
Yeah. What about you? Getting aside from Clerks 2, you got any other ones?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Scary Movie 3. Gold Member is another one that will put me back. But it really, like, for me, another one I think about when I was younger, 8 Mile.
Okay.
8 Mile is one that I watched. So back in the day, we used to rent movies every single Friday.
Yep.
It was movies or games. And
you and everyone else. Yeah. That was what it was.
Yeah, it was Friday. We would get fast food. I would usually get Taco John's. That was usually
6-pack and a pound?
No, I would go 4 soft shell tacos with tomato and sour cream. Still do that to this day.
Tomato and sour cream.
Hell yeah.
Really?
It's good
All
stuff.
Right.
So we'd go rent something and then get food, and I would, for like 6 months probably, every Friday I'd rent 8 Mile over and over again.
Every month?
Every Friday.
Every Friday for
every Friday.
6 months.
And my parents just never thought to buy it because it's costing them money, but at the same time it's like we could buy it for him, but then he's also getting another movie to rent every Friday. But no, I rented that every single Friday for 6 months, and like knew the words, knew the songs, knew everything. And I remember like friends would come over to watch because same thing. Like 8 Mile came out in like 2004, so I was like 2003 maybe. So I was like 12, 13.
12, 13, yeah.
It's not old enough to really probably watch because that was a rated R movie for sure. And my friends would come over to watch it because they couldn't. We would all do. Some of us would do the raps. We would watch the deleted scenes or the special features that had the Superman music video on it that had boobs in it, and so we would watch it for that. Yeah, we would pause it sometimes on the boobs.
Oh, look at that boob!
We'd rap that. So like. That was one I was obsessed. I even I would wear, I wore a hat, like a stocking cap, like
B
Rabbit did. I wore like a hoodie and stuff. Like I would try and dress like him. Like I pretended like I could freestyle even though I couldn't.
Lay down a beat right now.
No, so that's one that brings me back, and that one I haven't watched in a long time, and I think that one does hold up because I still hear people talk about it, as in like it's a good movie. So I'm happy about that because it's not the same for like Clerks 2 or Scary Movie 3. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, a lot of
Gold Member people don't really love.
There's a lot of and also comedy. Some of the stuff just does not age too well. Like you talking about Gold Member, I remember, and I don't even do you know
Gold Remember.
Gold remember. Yeah, baby. When did the first Austin Powers come out? Was it like 97?
96 or 90. I think it might have been 97.
I remember my parents or brother, my oldest brother, rented that one. And we were at home, and I specifically remember our old box TV, the way the living room was set up. I was sitting next to like the table, like the coffee table, playing with Legos. And I was just kind of watching. And it was when the fembots came in. And my parents were like, you guys have to leave. Or they like turned it off.
It was just machine gun boobs.
And the thing is, like, we were very, I don't know, sheltered. Because like we couldn't even watch, like...
Thomas the Tank Engine.
No. That was too racy. We couldn't watch Simpsons.
Yeah.
We couldn't watch Power Rangers for a long time. Because Power Rangers were... they were fighting. It was violence. Yeah, wow. So like we couldn't do that. So that's the thing is like I'd have to, the escape and most of these memories of I don't know, experiences essentially with games, movies, music, anything was at friends' places.
Yeah. I mean, that's unfortunate, but I had all that.
Well, and you were that friend.
Yeah. I wonder though, because like I said, there's still like a lot of movies now are hitting on that nostalgia. They're trying to go for it. There's probably a psychology behind that of like as you get older, you yearn for the times when you're younger because you're getting closer to the point when you're
well, and also die. Like
but I don't know, like,
and I don't want to have this pessimistic outlook on life, but like back then we didn't think about it. You had no responsibility. You woke up at whenever you wanted. You could eat as many chicken nuggets as you wanted and lose weight. And then you could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, it's just because you have more responsibility. There's more things. Like if I get sick, I'm dead because I can't afford. I either tough it out or I die because I don't have any money.
Right.
You know. Like, not to be, again, pessimistic and have a dire outlook on life, but that's unfortunately how it is. But also, like you're saying, you're closer to checking out.
But there's a lot of movies that are doing that. It seems, I don't know. The thing is like we talk about this and be like, it seems like there's more now, when in actuality there probably isn't. It's probably like we just weren't aware. We didn't watch those movies when we were a kid because the nostalgia movies, because we didn't have anything to be nostalgic about, And now they're making stuff related to us. Mid 90s is another good one. That I wasn't a skateboard kid, but there's definitely stuff within that movie. You saw mid 90s?
Yeah,
right?
I saw mid 90s.
I liked it a lot. But it was took place in the 90s. Had like Super Nintendo and had a lot of themes within the 90s. Just had the skateboarding stuff in there. But that one I liked a lot. It felt very 90s. Eighth Grade isn't a movie that had like a ton of... It had nostalgia for a different reason. It took place more recent, but it had nostalgia for like how when I was a preteen, teen time, how my relationship with my parents was. Yeah. In that movie, her name Ellie? Or that might just be the actress's name. I can't remember if that's the actress's name. Anyway, her and her father, she's like very kind of just ignores her father. Just very like, when he asks her about how her day is, she's like, fine, and like puts her earbuds on. For me, Kayla. Ellie, I think is the actress's
Elsie
name.
Fisher.
Elsie, there we go. Ellie is last of us. Yeah. But no, with 8th grade, like that relationship of like, for me, it was just, I'd come home, how's your day? Good. Go up to my room, watch TV or play video games or whatever. So like, and then I remember even like after I saw the movie, I texted my mom and I'm like, sorry for being a shithead when I was a kid, because, and I really wasn't. Like, I was a pretty good kid.
And then she's like, who'd you get pregnant?
But it was just more like, I wish I would have, spent more time. Because at the end of that movie, it's the same thing. It's like they spend more time together and all that stuff. Same thing here. It's like, I wish I would have like realized that at the time and like said things. And so that made me nostalgic in that way, of being like, it captured exactly how I felt when I was a preteen, as a boy, not a girl, but as a preteen, of like, this is my relationship with my parents,
Well, and now that you're saying that, yeah, I think a lot of people at that age were pretty shithead kids, because you think
hormones.
There's hormones. You think that your life is so much grander and like every decision is the end of the world. Where honestly, nothing matters. Nothing matters, honestly. Yeah. You saying the whole thing about the parent situation, like, same here, where it's just like, coulda, shoulda, woulda. And again, you're an only child, where you're the only one. I had 2 brothers and a sister, so it's like I'm the middle child. Who are you again?
Right.
You come and sit at this chair at dinner, and that's about it.
Right.
I don't know. They had everyone had their own time to shine and stuff. Like I guess my thing that I've realized the most, and I tell my parents all the time, I was like, you guys, you didn't have to do that, but they were like, well, we cared, but it was, and you even picked it up. There's a trophy over there. There's a basketball trophy, and you're like, oh, you were the tri-state whatever, and I was like, I was on the team. I didn't play, and that's one thing of my parents. Or my mom specifically came to every game, every tournament to watch me sit on the bench.
Right.
I didn't play until maybe the last minute of the game, and I maybe got the ball past me. Like that was it. And I'm like, looking back now, I'm like, why was I wasting my time doing that?
Right.
But then again, it's like I didn't.
What else?
Small town.
Yeah.
Cusp of kind of internet and technology, and it's not like I had money to buy editing software or a camera
or that existed.
No,
really.
I mean, aside from video games, I mean, it was like video games and girls. That was high school, you know.
Well, I had the video games.
Not the girls.
And the movies and the TV.
See, I wasn't into movies as much as I am now.
Yeah.
It was video games at that time. It went like video games to music to movies to now movies and video games.
Yeah, video games were big. Like once, because TV got me into video games with the G4 network and XPlay, that show where they reviewed that. That's how I feel now about when I go see indie movies, because I was playing video games that were not video games people my friends knew. When God of War came out, I had that right away because it got a 5 out of 5 on XPlay, and that's one of the last games I got at Toys R Us.
Really?
Was God of War, with the slip and everything. I remember getting it with the slip.
You got that one up and be like, yes, sir, I would like this game.
Yep, and it was one of the last games I got there, and it got a 5 out of 5, and I'm like, I've never heard of this. There was no really commercials on TV. It was, it was a smaller studio, brand new IP and stuff. I'm like, got a 5 out of 5. Seems cool. I'm going to go get it. That's kind of how I treated almost every game. Anytime the game got 4 or 5 out of 5 on XPlay, I would go get it. Heavy Rain's an example of that. I'm trying to think. There's No More Heroes is an example. So just a bunch of those smaller games. And it felt ooh, I'm on the inside.
You're on the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how from the more and more I've talked to you, that's kind of how you feel like you've been with anything and everything, movies, games, music, or even podcasts. You'll find stuff before people find stuff.
I try to. I mean, I don't feel there's still people who review movies that get to them before me and stuff like that. I would love to go to the Toronto International Film Festival and Sundance and see stuff way early, but in terms of around here, I mean, I don't have a ton of I try and recommend stuff to you when it comes out or whatever. Sometimes you'll get to it before me too, but I don't have a ton of friends that appreciate that stuff, so I like to get to it and see it as early as possible so I can kind of even have time to think about it before maybe it does get kind of more mainstream. Parasite I saw the first weekend. You saw it, I think, just slightly before me, but then it blew up, so I was able to have more conversations. Those are that's kind of why I like to see it early too. Is either to share it with people and be like, you got to see this, or to be able to see it early to have the conversations early too.
Now a word from our sponsors. Do you want to start investing but haven't a clue where to begin because of the high commission fees and intimidating financial jargon? Well, look no further, because Robinhood is here to save the day, the commission-free investing app. With Robinhood, you are able to trade stocks, funds, options, and even cryptocurrency. And with no commission fees, no minimums, no velvet rope to get started. They even offer fractional stock trading for those of you on a budget. Many young people wait far too long to start investing, so why not start today? Either to prepare for retirement or gain a few extra schmeckles for a fun weekend vacation. Right now, if you sign up using the download code below or in the description, you will be gifted with a stock from Apple, Ford, Facebook, or many others absolutely free. Don't wait until tomorrow, because today is the best time to start. Investing should be free and easy, and now it is with Robinhood. Do you love to read but simply cannot find the time to enjoy your favorite books? Or, did you actually forget how to read? Well, try Audible today. Audible is the world's largest seller and producer of audiobooks and other spoken word entertainment, enriching the lives of millions of listeners every day. With their customer-centric approach to technological innovation and superior programming, Audible has reinvented a media category and is the driving force behind today's audio entertainment revolution. And if you sign up today, you can enjoy a 30-day free trial, which includes 1 audiobook and 2 Audible originals absolutely free. Simply click the link in the description of this video to get signed up and enjoy unlimited audio entertainment with Audible. Now, back to the show. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, but also I got a question for you. Do you think that seeing something potentially, like you God of War, you see it have 5 out of 5, or Parasite, you see it get like 10 out of 10. I don't know. I'm just making numbers up. Does that then influence the way you interpret it? By having seen these numbers that make it perfection, or going to your favorite reviewers and them being favorable about it, and then you going in and seeing it, does that skew your perspective of the film?
Potentially. Depends on the thing, I guess. Because, like, a lot of indie movies now, I see kind of how I do it now is I look at my indie theater, see what's playing. If I just pull up the Rotten Tomato, all I do is pull up the Rotten Tomato score. If it's over, like, if it's 60 or over, I'll go see it. And some of my favorite ones that I saw at the indie theater were in the low 60s. Vox Lux, for example. Crazy, definitely a hard movie to watch. And I think
still haven't watched it.
The lower scores are because of some of the tough material,
Yeah.
I think. But I can't say I loved that movie, because it's like you shouldn't love that movie, but it's like I was entranced by that movie, So I think probably when it comes to that, because even with like Parasite, I didn't love it as much as other people did, So maybe less now. Back in the day, for sure, like and I think especially when you're that age, when you're 13, 14, 15, 16. Anytime someone says something's great and you do it, you get to do it too. You're like, yeah, it's great, so that you can fit in, I think over the years, especially the last 3-4 years, going to some of these indie movies and seeing some stuff that's higher or lower ranked, I think I've been able to better form my own opinions about it and not be influenced as much. I think you'd be lying to yourself if you're not influenced by something, right?
And I think I've even brought that question up to a few other people that have been on this podcast, because yes, it's going to not necessarily like go into a movie and it's like, okay, this movie absolutely sucked, but I don't want people to have bad thoughts. Like a good one for me, and people love it, whatever, Birds of Prey. I did not like that movie at all. And I said I didn't like that movie. And someone commented, and they're like, "You're so brave for saying this." And I'm like, "What do you want me to say? This is how I feel. This is my opinion. Like, do you want me to fake the review so I say that I like it, so then more people will watch my videos? Like, I'm not gonna. What is that selling? It's not selling out, is it? It's just like forming your opinion to fit in with everyone else. I mean, it's kind of like that whole, like you said, the nostalgia. Like, oh yeah, like, oh, did you see Saw? Oh my god, I loved it. And it's like, I don't like horror, so it's like I'm just saying that to relate to these people.
Yeah, and I think it's even harder to form your own opinion with like mainstream stuff, like Birds of Prey, like Avengers,
Marvel movies,
especially superhero movies, Star Wars, because those are so heavily debated and so heavily viewed and have such a stigma on them of like, you have to love them or you have to hate them or your opinion doesn't matter. And so like you're more influenced to pick a side, whereas like and
do it
right. And when it comes to like indie movies, I think that's way more about like, how does that fit with you? Like, how does that impact you specifically? Because a lot of indie movies have different messages and things like that, and so you take what sometimes you take what you interpret from it, and it's not necessarily the filmmakers like, you have to take this message. It's like, how does this fit with your current situation in life, or what your views are? That's what I tend to like more about indie movies. But
oh no, that I'm fully on board with that, because you are the one that brings indie movies to me, essentially, or kind of be like, hey, you should go check this out. And I very much appreciate that, because again, not knocking on big blockbusters, Hollywood movies or anything, but I know 95% of what I'm going to get in that movie.
Yeah.
Again, there might be a surprise, a twist, a turn.
Yeah.
There's some cool action set piece. Tom Cruise's leg exploding off, and you see it fly off, and it's like, I finished the stunt.
Yeah.
But you more than likely know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
With all of these kind of smaller, I mean, I've seen a lot of crap on Netflix recently,
Yeah.
but there's a few here or there I'm like, wow, this movie no one is going to see, and this movie has something to say.
One gift of the pandemic, other than like just being able to see a lot of, because that's something I do like every weekend, is I get up, watch something on VOD, and typically it's something I don't even know. Again, I do the same thing with like the indie movies. I look at the tomato score. If it's 60 or better, it's a new movie. Probably gonna watch it. Not 80% of the movies I've watched have been foreign movies, which is it. And foreign, it's still English language, but it's from like Ireland or Sweden or like whatever.
Good day, mate.
Yeah,
That's
Australian.
That's Swedish, right? No.
But
IKEA. There we go.
one gift of the pandemic has been Butt Boy.
Dude, thank you, because you brought that. Like, I remember. You go.
Well, so for my experience of that is I saw it a couple of days prior to watching it. I saw the
trailer or
no, not the
promotion
trailer.
or
I didn't watch.
something?
I haven't watched any trailers
Okay,
for anything
okay.
I've seen since March.
Yeah.
Since before the pandemic. But Butt Boy, I was scrolling. I thought it was just one of those dumb like the one of those dumb parody movies or like whatever.
It's like I don't.
There's
I
that
can't
one
even-
Avengers one that we were gonna watch. That
Oh
one
my
time.
god! Yeah, the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I thought it was the same thing for Butt Boy, so I scrolled by it. I'm like, that's just a weird title. A couple days later, I clicked on it, and I'm like, what is this? And I see it just said something vague about the guy has some sort of butt powers or whatever.
Butt powers.
And I see it has like a 60% Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, how is that not like a 6?
Yeah.
Like, this seems so weird. So I watched it, and I'm like, this is crazy, but also really good.
Yeah. Like, the thing is, I remember the day. I mean, this is a recent nostalgia, but like I remember at work and the trailer popped up on Twitter and I watched the trailer and I was like, this movie I am watching. And I put it on my calendar.
Yeah.
And usually my calendar, I have tons of crap, but I didn't click alert me. So it had the calendar, but
Yeah.
it never let me know it came out. And then like 4 days later, you're like, I just watched this movie called Butt Boy. And I'm like, that movie's out? And it is, again, I thought it was going to be completely kind of slapstick,
Yeah.
stupid, dumb, like almost like a straight to like Crackle type movie.
And there's some of those moments in there, but
But they commit to the bit. Like it
Yeah.
is from the name Butt Boy and what happens and kind of a few things in it. It's weird and goofy and strange and unique, but they play it so serious. It is a great like
Yeah.
noir cop
yeah.
mystery
cat and
thriller,
mouse.
cat and mouse,
Yeah.
like serial killer on the loose type
Yeah.
story. And honestly, like, I mean, this week, spoiler, I'm going to have my top best, worst of the year. That's probably going to be in that list because
Yeah.
that is one of the best movies that no one has seen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it had a little bit of like and that's kind of what I noticed too with a lot of these movies that have come out, because I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff I've seen. Nothing like that this year's like blown me away really, but a lot of like good solid stuff that I wouldn't have seen otherwise, and that's been nice seeing. I've gotten to see some actresses that I really enjoy lead movies. Sarah Bolger, she's on like Mayans MC on FX, the Sons of Anarchy spinoff. She's done a couple movies. A Good Woman is Hard to Find is one where she leads it. It's kind of like it's almost like a revenge thriller type movie. She's really good in.
Yeah.
She's in another good one. The name's escaping me now, but End of Sentence, I believe. And it's where this father and son have to basically go spread ashes of their wife/mother.
Yeah.
And she's in it as kind of like a love interest / a con artist type person. So that's been nice. I saw one this last week, Baby Teeth. I can't remember the girl's name, but she was in Sharp Object. She was Beth in Little Women. She leads that movie. So like a lot of good small things that I hope have more spotlight now. They can get some of these actors more like bigger roles coming up soon. So that's been the one positive thing. I think a lot of these studios that have these movies are getting them out now so that people can see them.
Yeah.
But.
Well, and that's the thing is going back to you saying you haven't seen a movie this year that's really blown you away. Not only like something unique and like, oh, that's going to win awards via performances, best picture, cinematography, anything like that, or even like the spectacle. Like Tenet is supposed to be the movie we're looking forward to, the movie that's going to be like, whoa, I haven't seen anything like that ever, mind you, just this year. Is it going to be a thing where we're just not going to get that this year, where it's going to be like these middle, I wouldn't say middle of the road. I mean, I've seen some pretty good, like there's this one movie, I think I can talk about it, Palm Springs. Like that movie is very unique. It, again, I don't think it's like getting that award worthy, but it's one of the most unique movies I've seen probably this year.
Yeah, that's when you told me not to watch anything for.
Yeah,
so
yeah, go in knowing nothing.
When that comes out on on Hulu, I'm gonna check that out for sure. I'm thinking about, because a lot of the movies I have on my list are prior to even the pandemic, having seen them, and I think that's having seen them in theaters. I think that's what separates a lot of, like, for me, the feeling and emotion of movies is in the theater, and so I hope we can get back to that soon. But yeah, it's like seeing them at home just takes away a level for me. Like just honestly, it would knock a movie down like from an 8 to a 7 or
and why is that now? Is it just because of it's sound and picture, right? Sound
and picture, but I have a good setup with sound and picture.
Yeah,
I think
I didn't until you fixed my TV.
Yeah. I think there's just that level of like, because at the theater you're stuck in there watching it, right? And like at home, I could get up and go to the bathroom. I could get up and look at my phone, go get something to eat, whatever, pause it. And at the theater, it's like you're stuck in that experience. But like The Lodge is one that I saw, one of the last few I saw in the theater, where I'm like, this is crazy. This does some insane things, a lot of thought behind it, and I enjoyed it a lot. That's towards the top of my list because like, even though these movies that I'm saying are really good, it just doesn't quite have that. The only thing that I've seen at home this year that's really like grabbed me like in a major way is Hearts Beat Loud, and that came out in 2018.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, it's a great movie, but it's just not that 2020 caliber, which, man, I completely even forgot that there was a handful of, like, a whole month of movies that you, like, The Lodge, you said.
Yeah.
I'm now thinking of movies around that time that I'm like, oh, yeah, that was in the movie theater. Like Sonic, The Photograph, just a bunch of stuff around that time where it's like, they were pretty, I wouldn't say they're pretty good. They're good movies, but it's just like no one's ever going to talk about those again. Yeah. They're gone.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, wow. Huh. Yeah, it's one of those things where when I'm reviewing movies lately, because a lot of them are streaming, a lot of them are Netflix, I mean, hell, VOD. Nothing's going to the movie theater right now. We'll see what happens in the next few weeks. That whole, like, I wouldn't say stigma, but that whole thing kind of hits me where sometimes I'm like, well, it's good for a Netflix movie, and I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Right.
Like, that's a slap to the movie.
Yeah,
you
kinda.
know.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of, but at the same time, it's like Irishman is technically a Netflix movie, and I think that.
Yeah, but we saw it in the movie theater the way it was intended, where old people were talking.
Yeah, because they were like, oh, we're feeling just like those.
Robert De Niro talking about?
They were able to relate better than we could.
Yeah, they could. Time. They were like, I don't know what's happening, and I'm like, okay.
Maybe they should have saw Capone in the theater too.
Did you watch that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, don't waste your money.
No. Yeah, well, you know what sucks about Hearts Beat Loud too is that's probably the last one that got good reviews that I skipped at the indie theater. I remember it playing at the indie theater. It had Nick Offerman. I'm like, yep, I'm gonna go, and then just didn't.
Yeah, and if you would have gone, then you would have said, hey, you need to go, and then I would have gone. But it's all on you.
Yeah,
think about it.
It's all on me, and that probably would have been in my at least top 5 of 2018 for sure. Yeah. 2018, I think, was a good year though, if I remember correctly. So
I'd have to go back and think. They all run together now.
I actually have my that list on my phone. I have for the last 2 years, and this year too, the top of the year, and then the number of movies I saw and stuff. This year, I'm interested to see how many movies I get to or see, because I think I'm at 40 that I've seen new this year.
And last year, you probably would have been at like what,
60 or something. You know, like a crazy amount.
Yeah. Well, because I guess it really depends because, like, it depends what the schedule is and what your weekend's like. But it would be like an average of 2 a week, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like it was average for a while. Like the first couple weeks of the pandemic, it was like maybe 1 or 2, and then because like they weren't really putting anything out. Like they were. It took until like Trolls maybe got moved to VOD, and they started announcing that stuff. That's more and more stuff was getting added.
Yeah.
But the first couple of weeks is like I wasn't seeing anything, and now it was getting back to like 2 to 3 a week on VOD, and so it was getting back to my normal number of movies, but there was still a lull in there, so I'm behind. I normally try to get to 100 new ones, see 100 new ones a year, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit that this year.
If so, you're going to have a lot of catching up to do.
I guess so.
You're going to be like, hey, I can't come into work. I got to go watch a movie today.
Pretty much.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah. I don't know. Again, the whole, I don't want to be like pessimistic, but this year is kind of a weird lost year of just film, music, TV, life.
Hey, we got some good TV and movies and stuff.
Do we? I mean,
Butt Boy, we got Tiger King was good for a little bit.
The thing is, it's one of those.
Floor is Lava.
Some of that's true. Some of that stuff,
Gary
though.
Busey Pet Judge.
Oh my gosh, Gary Busey. Can we talk about that for a little bit? Because explain the premise, and then I'm gonna say because we watched episode and a half almost, and
yeah.
I don't know what to think. Like you explain what this is to people.
Gary Busey Pet Judge. It's exactly that. Gary Busey is a pet judge. Going into it, I didn't think it was scripted, but it is scripted. It's these cases. Gary Busey's a pet judge. These cases of like this one where this guy wasn't like a pet raccoon, but a raccoon was this one you watched. A raccoon was hanging out in this guy's property, and he was like giving it food and stuff and cared for it. It died, and he wanted to get it taxidermied, and the taxidermist turned it into a race car. And then the guy wanted to sue the guy who loved the raccoon wanted to sue the taxidermist for like not doing what he wanted.
Yeah.
And Gary Busey was in love with the race car raccoon, and then basically somehow swindled them all into giving him $200 a piece.
For the raccoon.
Yeah. And it's Gary Busey basically going insane. He like goes off on tangents. He made a bird sound one time. Like it's the most insane show, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
On Amazon Prime.
And you had mentioned this weeks ago, and I just never watched it. You came down this week and you're like, "Hey, let's watch an episode of this." I am so conflicted because it is weird, and strange. Oddly funny, but also sad.
Yeah.
And I don't like. Maybe it's just my like. I need to just completely forget about that sad because it's like he's probably loving life.
Oh yeah,
he's loving life, and everyone that's on the show, you can tell that they're having they're loving life too because they're going in and it's scripted, but there's probably a lot of improv because Gary Busey. He is not given a script.
No,
it is 100% clear. This guy is just there, and everyone's acting around whatever he says.
It's a lot of improv for sure.
Yeah, like, and the raccoon guy, I was dying because this guy's like, I cared for the raccoon, and he was so great, and then I want to taxiderm him, and they essentially glued the raccoon to a remote control car.
Yeah.
And he watched him, and he's like, oh, look at the teeth, and it's like a ferocious raccoon on a remote control car, which Gary Busey was like, okay, you give him $200 and he gives me $200 and I keep the raccoon. And it's like, and then he's like, justice, and it's like, they're just what?
Yeah.
So they lost money, but then afterwards they have the what do you call that? The post-trial.
Yeah, the interviewer.
Yeah, the post-trial interviewer. This guy, he looks like someone that would steal a bunch of meatballs from like a Italian buffet with a drawn-on mustache.
Yeah.
And it's not even a good mustache.
No, it's like just a magic marker.
Yeah, it's a magic marker mustache. Yeah. And the post-interviews are even stranger than the other one because there was the other case where the guy accused the dog groomer of making his dog less manly of a bark or something.
Yeah.
And
I wasn't following that one.
That one was
honest.
so weird where the guy was like, I took my dog to get groomed and he came back and he didn't have as ferocious as a bark. But then the dog barked and Gary Busey's like, but justice.
Yeah. That show is wild. I got to finish that and review that later. But Yeah, I love me some Gary Busey. Anytime I get to see him, nostalgia, bringing it back to nostalgia.
Yeah.
He was doing that since like 2005 on.
Wait, Pet Justice?
No, being weird and crazy.
Oh yeah.
On Celebrity Fit Club, he was on that show.
Was
Surreal Life.
I was just gonna say he was on the
Surreal
Surreal Life, right? Was
I
that the
miss
same
those.
season with?
Vern Troyer.
Yes.
I don't know if it probably was. There was a season with Flavor Flav in it too, with him and Bridget Nielsen, and that kind of led into the Flavor of Love, which was a VH1 secretly had some amazing shows. Flavor of Love, Surreal Life. It had Peter Brady, I believe, and the guy who played Peter Brady, Knight, and Adrian
Brody.
Adrian Curry. She was a model who did Playboy at the time. And
That was on Surreal Life?
Surreal Life.
Yeah.
They were together, which was weird because she was like 20 years younger than him. And they ended up doing a spinoff like show of their relationship. I know way too much about Surreal Life.
There were 6 seasons.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I didn't realize that there were 6 seasons because I knew that there was the one with Vern Troyer. I knew that there was the Gary Busey one. I knew that there was... I'm trying to look up who was on all these other ones.
There's one with a wrestler on it, and I can't... China?
There's one
China.
with...
I think China was on it.
Who? Oh God! What? There was 2 dudes in like the early '80s that were kid stars, and it was the Michaels or whatever. Or was it Michael? Shawn? No, not Shawn Michael.
Shawn Michaels is a wrestler.
Oh my gosh.
Brett Michaels? He
might-
wasn't a child.
no.
He's a rocker, but I think he might have been on it too.
I don't know. I'm just looking at this, and yeah, it's just crazy who they brought in on this Surreal Life, because I remember the season I remember the most is the Vern Troyer one, because
he peed in the
was
corner.
drunk all the time
Yeah.
and just pissing everywhere.
Yeah.
Wasn't Ron Jeremy on
Yeah,
one of
he was
them?
on a season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was going on? Were they just like, who are these like C-star level,
Basically,
like,
that's what
and
it
bring
was.
them into a house?
It was people who was like the last dying flame of their celebrity, and they brought them in to live in a house together. And like a lot of them were. That's a thing that was probably sad about it, is it's these celebrities who didn't have much left, not only like professionally but probably financially and life wise. They were all, a lot of them were drunk.
Yeah.
A lot of them were on some sort of drugs, and so they just put them in this house together and were like, let's let these drunks be entertaining for their last 15 minutes. And it's again probably why they don't do it anymore. But like I think China, the wrestler China, was on it, and she was.
It looks like Vanilla Ice was in one.
Yeah. He's recovered though. He's actually doing well.
Yeah.
He does like building and stuff like that now.
Yeah, he has like an HG.
Yeah.
Is it
HGTV.
HGTV. Yeah,
HGH is steroids. But no, she was on it, and like she had a real bad substance abuse problem. She might have been on the season with Vern Troyer. I can't remember though.
Yeah, it looks like Christopher Knight,
Christopher Knight. There we go.
He looks like Seth MacFarlane a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Flavor
Flav, Corey Feldman. That's what we were thinking.
Feldmans, yes, yeah.
Charo. Eric Estrada.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. Jose Canseco.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember that story of Jose Canseco and the finger? Have I told you this? I heard it on a podcast, but apparently he was like, something happened and he accidentally shot his finger off with a gun. But then he like sewed it on himself, and he was at a poker table.
Yes.
And people were like, what the fuck happened to your finger? And it smelled like, he legit said it smelled like death, and then it just fell off.
Ugh.
Like,
Ugh.
But no, I remember the Jose Canseco one because that was the episode where they had to play baseball against their doppelgangers. Do you remember that? Where they brought him in and they were like, wait a minute, who's who?
Yeah. That's crazy. Man, oh man. Surreal Life was a great show. But that led into some spin-offs. Like Flavor of Love was awesome. I didn't really watch Rock of Love, but Celebrity, like I said, Celebrity Fit Club. There were some good VH1 shows back in the day. And I watched those with my parents, so that's nostalgia.
Nostalgia indeed. I mean, not only that, like that was like prime time stuff. Like I remember the stuff that was after school, and maybe this was this VH1 or MTV where it was like Room Raiders.
That's MTV.
Okay, that was MTV.
Room Raiders, Cribs, Next. Because Room Raiders had the black light.
Yes, which they always pulled out on one of them. They're like, oh,
There's
ew,
cum.
gross. There's G's everywhere.
Yeah, there was a lot of. I mean, then that's around the time too they were starting to do like Jackass was popular, Viva La Bam, Robin Big came a little later, Wild Boys with Chris Pontius and Steve-O.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, reality shows were so popular, and I still think they are to an extent. But like back then, it was like if you were even had a modicum of success, you're gonna get a reality show.
Yeah, and the thing is, back then, I think now there's more structure. There's more behind the scenes type stuff where they're going to craft a storyline, like The Bachelor, Bachelorette, like that huge popular blah blah blah. But like they craft such unique storylines, and people love them. Back then, like you're saying, Jackass, the Wild Boys. For some reason, I was thinking the Style Boys. They were just like go, and they pieced it together. Like I remember watching Jackass for the very first time. I was up in Minneapolis at my grandparents' place. It was a Saturday morning, and I'd never even heard of this show, never even seen it, and it was like something that we shouldn't have been watching.
Yeah,
God knows how old I was, but it was the one. It's like very bare bones where they're like on a skateboard in like a milk crate going down a hill.
Yeah.
Or they tried to pole vault over sewage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is TV because it was so pedestrian.
Yeah.
But then obviously it got popular and blah, 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 which now, you know, you turn on TikTok, you turn on YouTube, everyone's trying to replicate it, which it was a time and place.
Well, they were in the midst of shooting the fourth movie when the pandemic happened.
Oh, okay.
So and I don't know if you've seen a lot of those guys. Like, honestly, the person who looks the best is Steve-O. Which you wouldn't even like. If you would have picked someone who doesn't
from season 1 or movie 1, you're like, who's going to unfortunately pass?
Yeah, and who's just gonna look like they're a cracked out person. You would have picked Steve-O 10 times out of 10.
Yeah,
he looks the best. He's sober. He probably has the most money now because he does like stand up and tours and all this stuff. Like Bam looks like Phil Margera now.
Yeah, no hate, but yes, he does look very rough.
I think Johnny Knoxville looks okay. I think he's still, but he's
had a lot happen to him.
He almost died during Action Point, like that movie that no one saw. You know, people are gonna go see Jackass 4 because that's nostalgia. People want to see those guys die.
Yep.
People aren't gonna be satisfied until one of these guys die during a movie.
Well, I remember. I don't know if it was movie 1 or movie 2 where the post credits is them like as old people and they're like, oh, and then like they're slowly dying. Like
they redo the intro as old people.
Yes. I feel like that is what's going to happen when they get to like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
like they're gonna keep doing it until one of them, like you said, just they're done.
I haven't watched even like a clip of Jackass in a long time, but I even remember like by the third movie, I'm like, I don't know if this is good, funny anymore. Like I'll probably go see Jackass 4, but I don't know how good I'm gonna feel watching it. Like I'm gonna be like, ooh, why is this funny again?
2 and 3, I don't know which one it was. The one where the moment it kind of was like, I'm not into some of this is when Preston is biking and he's like farting into a tube into a helmet and he throws up. Is it him or someone's farting into a tube?
I think someone else is smelling it. Yeah,
that was when I'm like, I don't know if I'm in it. I don't know if I like this anymore. Because there's certain things that are funny, certain things that I'm just like, that is entirely gross, and that's one of them. But the one clip that I absolutely love, and I think it's from the first movie maybe, is the, hey, high five, and it's the giant hand that slaps him.
Oh,
I don't know if that's a normal TV one or if that's the movie.
I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah, where then they trick the guy to bring in a whole tray of soup, and then they hit him, and he's like, just with the soup back.
Yeah. At least that's not like mutilation or like barf or poop.
Well, and also the thing is, like you're saying, Jackass, it would start on what, MTV?
Yeah. Well, really, it started because with Bam did these CKY videos.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw those.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Those are like, even back then I felt like, oh, this is inside, because they were playing them on pay-per-view, and I had to like rent them.
Have you seen them both, or all
I saw
of them?
I think I saw the first one.
I don't know which one it is.
CKY 2K, one of the
do you
two.
remember the one where the guy is trying to get Freon from a refrigerator to make a reverse microwave, and then they go and he gets mad at the girlfriend, so they tape poop to the garage? Yeah, like I don't know why. I think T-Buck, my brother, he watched it, but yeah, there's one where they pick up, I think, dog crap and duct tape it to a garage.
Oh my lord!
Yeah, it's so weird because they did them all themselves. Like they filmed, edited all that crap themselves.
But then, like, I think what I heard on a podcast recently, because I listened to one with, because actually I thought of this because I listened to Steve-O's podcast with Bam Margera, and like his Bam's story since Viva La Bam ended is crazy. But like that, they apparently, back when Jackass came out, MTV bought a bunch of clips and footage from CKY and just put it in Jackass. So like the first season of Jackass was like, they only filmed like 4 days or something total, and they put them out as a season, and then cut in clips of CKY and stuff too. So I think the first season's only like 8 episodes. So they were filming season 2 when season 1 was airing, and based off of just those 8 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I remember, and it could have been season 1, could have been season 2, but it was so just pedestrian. It was like literally go into this backyard and whatever you see, try to make something out of it. And that's kind of what they did for the first one. But then obviously once it got kind of popularity, I mean, it was kind of, like, again, did it start in the 90s?
It was 2000s.
Oh, yeah, 2000s.
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of like that fringe skater culture, extreme sports type people who latched onto it. And then it kind of went into like a little bit of comedy and, slapstick. But that's how, like, the people latched onto. But then it also had all of those, like, offshoots, like you're saying, the Wild Boys. It had the something brothers. They were, like, Australian or New Zealand or something. Or Canadian. I don't know. They were, like, 2 extreme brothers, where I remember one where he climbs a tree, cuts the top off, and then rides the tree down to the bottom. Like, it was insane. Like, he climbs a pine tree, holds onto it, and then they cut the bottom, and he just falls off.
What?
Yeah,
that sounds like he would die.
Yeah, this was even like, they were like, oh, it's blah blah blah. Like, I think it was because they filmed it in a different country that they're like, we can do whatever we want. But it was very not good.
Yeah, that's I think a style of entertainment that's probably passed me by at this point. I'm not into the mutilation or the. Some of the things like pranks, even
like Punk'd.
Yeah, that, I don't know. Like, there's still some things that make me laugh on clips. Or, like, if it's not malicious, like if they're tricking like like their girlfriend or boyfriend into something, like some of those things I'll laugh at. But like the straight up, like, I'm gonna pierce my balls, like that stuff, like they did that stuff on Jack. Like, I'm okay. I don't need to see that. Like, poop. If someone's pooping into a bag and throwing it at me,
no poop.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not nostalgic.
People still do love pranks, but I think that it maybe it's because they're so saturated and whatnot. But I think that it's a thing. It has to hit on those certain special things, like you said. Like, I don't know. I see a lot of people like. That do the pranks on like their significant other and stuff.
Yeah,
sure, great. I'm sure you guys love each other, and hopefully that's the case. But I know if I was in that situation and my significant other continuously shaving cream me or put fart spray in my room or something, I'd be like, you need to stop, otherwise this is not going to work.
It depends on how much money you're getting for it.
Yeah. It goes back to the whole beginning, the whole money. Yeah. It's like plan A, plan B, man.
Yeah, plan A is that I guess my significant other is going to
shit on me.
Put baking soda and ketchup and
yeah.
I'm just going to spray in my face.
No. No good. I'm trying to think. What other kind of nostalgic things are there? I mean, we kind of like the nostalgic thing we talked about here were kind of like our teens and like into our young adult life or whatnot. Is there anything from like your childhood that really, like, movies or music or
it was mostly like TV. It was mostly TV. Like Nickelodeon shows.
Yep.
And even so, like I've always when I gone back to watch certain episodes, like there was a little while where I had there's that streaming service that had old Nick shows on them, and I watched a few episodes, and I'm like even all that, I thought all that's still got to be funny, right? And I'm like, some things, yeah, but not really. Like I've gone back and watched this old stuff, and it's just a lot of it's not good. There are some things that are still good. There are episodes of like, I don't know, like certain episodes of maybe even like Rugrats and things like that, where they kind of somehow touch on certain things that are like, oh, that's kind of poignant, but it's like not a lot of it's just mindless entertainment.
It's just mindless, yeah. Like for some reason, even though I love it, SpongeBob, I'm like
SpongeBob is a good example of actually they touch on certain things that are like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Like what?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot right now.
I can't think of specific.
Yeah,
but like they do a lot of them. They do like they put a lot of care into making. I mean, there's some weird stuff in there for sure, but I think that's stood the test of time is because parents can still watch it. You know, parents watch it with their kids and they're like, this is funny. And even so, there's nostalgia for like that's been on for 20 years. Yeah, there's people who were 6, 7, 8, 9 who have kids now that are old enough to watch and understand SpongeBob. You know, so I think that's one that is done well and can bring nostalgia. But like, I don't know, your Angry Beavers. Oh my God. Angry Beavers is one that like you can't go back and watch and get nostalgia from.
No, and the thing is, I've only watched clips, maybe a couple episodes of Angry Beavers, and it was just so bizarre. Like the first episode, aren't they like? I can't even think what they were doing, but it was just something like, what is going on in this episode? But even things like Cow and Chicken,
I didn't watch that.
That was like drug. Like there's certain cartoons from that weird era of, I think it was Cartoon Network. Nickelodeon was, you know, like Wild Thornberrys, Hey Arnold, and stuff like that.
And they had a lot more live action stuff too. Like, all that, and Keenan and Kel, Drake and Josh, Amanda Show.
Amanda, please.
I was probably even too old to watch Icarly, but I watched Icarly back in the day.
What was wasn't there a spinoff of Icarly with
Sam and Cat? I think that had Ariana Grande.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. That was more live action. I think I loved the cartoons on Nick, but I was also a big Cartoon Network cartoon person through until probably the early 2000s, because then it got weird because the generation of cartoons that I loved was Dexter's Lab. My sister loved Powerpuff Girls. I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog, Johnny Bravo, Ed, Edd and Eddy. Like those were the ones that I loved watching. And like whenever I went over to a friend's, he was like, okay, do you want to watch Cartoon Network or Nickelodeon? And I was Cartoon Network, he was Nickelodeon. So like,
well, Nickelodeon's better.
Yeah, well, and see, that's the thing is like looking back at it now, it's like, yeah, because Cartoon Network was weird. Like there was like Ed, Edd and Eddy was so bizarre because it was like you had all these weird kids who apparently didn't have parents, but had these giant jawbreakers they were always after, and they were like way out here, and it was bizarre.
One thing that thinking about Nickelodeon and some of the stuff that, again, kind of stood the test of time and like touches on things is Rocko's Modern Life. They hid a lot of stuff in there. Like it was silly and weird, and they had like poop and stuff jokes in there. But then they also like talked about things like race and things like that, like because it was all different like animals and stuff. So they talked about things like race through animals, kind of like a BoJack Horseman kind of does. And then they had that special that came out like 6 months ago that was on Netflix where they talked about like nostalgia. It talked about nostalgia. It talked about how times have changed. Like they come back to Earth, and like I think
because isn't the last episode they fly off into the moon or something?
Yeah, they go out in space. They come back to Earth, and everything's changed. There's cell phones, and they again talk about race and people not accepting of other people. I think they even have some like gay characters and stuff in there where they weren't in the show initially, and they or maybe had hinted at in the show, and now they are, like, and like people not accepting of that, and like Rocco's like, why don't you accept that? This doesn't make any sense. So like trying to teach things through that and like a weird, wacky, crazy show and make points about stuff, and so that's the stuff that continues to resonate with people, I think. And that's a show like that one kind of hit me at, it was like 96 or 7, I think, when that kind of phased out. But like, so I saw the tail end of it, but I always kind of enjoyed some of that show, and not now knowing like, oh yeah, they talked about a like important stuff. I think that's the stuff. Anything that can make a statement and not just be silly for the sake of being silly, that's the stuff that I think still can bring a lot of nostalgia to people now, you know.
Well, and also, yeah, like going back and being like, oh, I watched this, and subliminally, I probably picked up some of these traits, morals, ideals, anything like that from the show. Because, like you're saying, I watched a handful of those episodes, and I knew that they hit a lot of stuff in there, but also it was, I wouldn't say a progressive show, but like it wasn't just slapstick.
Right.
I mean, it was also like, he worked at a phone sex hotline. Like there was weird stuff hidden in there where it's like, okay, it's fun, it's cute and whatnot for kids, but also I think that, hey, this is actually like talking, like hitting on stuff that's, you know, somewhat adult, somewhat stuff that you're gonna have to deal with. And I didn't watch the special that came out whenever, but I remember people talking about it, and from what it sounds like, you had maybe, did you watch it or just hear about it? Okay,
I watched it. Yeah, I liked it, and I wasn't the biggest Rocco fan, but I enjoyed it. Yeah, and it's a reason for people to go, like, it's a reason as an adult to go back. I think that's the same thing with SpongeBob. There's stuff hidden throughout SpongeBob that's adult, you know, and that's a reason for people to go back and watch it. You know, again, your Angry Beavers, there's really not much of a reason to go back and watch. Like, even some of the weirder stuff in Nickelodeon, the Kablam, remember that show at all? With the Action League now?
Yes,
and all that stuff?
yes!
Yeah, that one I've gone back and watched, and I'm like...
That was stupid.
That's not good.
I remember, I'm so glad you brought up Kablam, because I didn't know what the name of it was, but I remember that like Action and Meltman and everything.
That was
like
Action League now, because there's like a bunch of different sketches and stuff in there.
Yeah. That was one that we loved watching because it was Friday night at whatever time.
Yep.
And I remember it was dumb. Like, I remember one dumb. Where it was just, the sketch was a quick cartoon of a guy getting a pencil eraser stuck in his nose. And the whole time he's just like, and walking through like life, because he's and then I think found someone else or somehow got it out, you know, resolution. But it was just like, this is mindless children's cartoon, and the Action League now was so dumb.
Yeah. Oh yeah, very dumb. Yeah, that was a show that just, I think they either, a bunch of the people who made it took mushrooms and were like, here we go, or it was like all the leftover stuff
from Robot Chicken.
Well, or maybe that's how Robot Chicken started.
It might be, actually.
But probably just a bunch of leftover stuff that people were just like, oh yeah, that was kind of funny. Let's make it into a Kablam sketch.
Which is so funny, because to look at some of that stuff now, it's like, that would never make TV. That is fit for YouTube.
Yeah.
It's 100% YouTube.
Well, what were we watching last night?
Andy Milonakis.
Andy Milonakis. Yep. That's a nostalgia show. That's a show that was YouTube before YouTube, Vine before Vine, TikTok before, like,
like rewatching it, because I hadn't watched it since it aired, and you have 3 episodes?
Yeah, I bought 3 episodes,
and we watched one last night, and I couldn't look away.
Yeah,
because it was so like, one, how did this make TV?
Yeah.
But two, I wouldn't say it aged horribly, but it's aged into a different medium.
It's aged into. It was just early. Yeah. Honestly, it was just early.
It really was.
Like there's a dumb little like 30 minute would be too much. 30-second sketch of his dog Whoopi gets telekinesis and cuts up a piece of the carpet and then rubs the carpet on his butt telekinetically and then wipes it on Andy.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Well, and there was a 5-second one where he's like, oh no, my fish is dead, and he just rubs his feet on the ground and electrifies the fish back. Yeah. That's it. It literally is just like, boom, next to catch. Yeah. And there's like interplay in between, and there's some longer ones and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it is 100%, like, you can see pieces of, like you said, YouTube,
TikTok,
Vine, Billy on the Street. Like, there's stuff like that in there too.
He goes on the street and
just interviews people.
The one he's like, here's a balloon, I'm sad and depressed, and he goes, yeah, so am I.
Me too.
Yeah. So what? I am too. Yeah. No, that's because if he would have been around now doing that, he would have like hundreds of, probably like tens of millions of like teen fans who are like, oh, this guy's hilarious.
Yeah. I think there's two different ways. If he would have hit at the right year, yes. If he would hit 2 years ago, disappear.
Yeah, probably.
Because it would be like, we've already seen this.
Well, he already disappeared again.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, he's on Twitter and all that stuff.
He does Twitch. Like, I think he has a lot of Twitch streaming now.
Yeah, he had something. It was just the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, really not though, because he made a TV show.
Well,
out of it.
yeah,
He made 3 seasons of a TV show.
I guess you're right. I should hold my tongue on that one.
And he
because
was in a couple movies. He was in Waiting 2, or was he in Waiting 1?
I think he was in Waiting 1.
Yeah,
maybe 2 as well.
I think he's probably in both. Like he had a decent little. He'd probably more of a career than he probably
you think
should have.
Yeah. Which again, we'd have to dive into the history of, because I know he was a little bit on the Man Show. He was the kid that was on the corner selling beer. But other than that, it's just so goofy because, you know, there was always that conspiracy of
That he was 40.
That he was 40 some, acting as a kid, and blah,
And he
blah,
was in
blah.
his 20s, but he wasn't 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy. Anyways, no, nostalgia trip of shows and whatnot, and, you know, some insight into what had happened. We, you know, had a podcast explode. So this is, you know, we kind of covered the opposite coin of what we covered in that one.
Yeah, we got into some new stuff, but we should probably cut to a clip. Potter. Yeah, that's not. I did it. This is awful. All right, we're back.
Okay. Anyways, though, yeah, we're back. Seth, thank you again for sitting down, recording once again.
Yeah.
Where can tell this camera, tell that camera, tell this camera where they can find your stuff, or what do you have coming?
Yeah, just SoCo shot ones, of course.
Yeah.
Get excited for that. I feel like, I mean, it'll premiere on Patreon, but I feel like that's going to be, when it comes out, we're going to have to release that one to the public. I feel really good about it.
It'll be what I'm thinking right now, and again, who knows how long I'm going to have to edit that. I think it'll probably take a couple weeks just with
It might
other
take longer
things.
because now you have to cut to another clip.
It might take a little bit longer, but it will be Patreon exclusive it will be time sensitive.
Yeah.
It'll be Patreon exclusive, but then we will probably release it because there's going to be a lot of work put into it. So we have that, but then the SoCo Show, SoCo.
Yep, SoCo Show.
Weekly podcast that
With
they
Jared
put
on
together. Yeah, they invite me over so many weeks in a row.
Be on again this. I don't know when this comes out, but you'll be on this week too.
Yep. This comes out tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yep.
Really? So
no one will ever hear this because it's always only going to come out tomorrow.
So you'll be on it this upcoming week.
Yep,
as well.
yep. So check me out over on the SoCo Show. Yep, yeah. Jump over there, listen to me with these two this knucklehead, and then our other friend Cody Michael. He's been on this podcast. But yes, SoCo Show again. Thank you so much. You know,
thanks for having me.
The shot ones and everything like that. But that's Movies and Nonsense. I don't even think we introduced this episode. We just started talking. But welcome to Movies and Nonsense, episode 24, 25. I don't know. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.